Imagine waking up tomorrow and absolutely nothing, no criticism, no betrayals, no frustrations, has the power to bring you down. Imagine living in a state of presence so solid, of purpose so unshakable, that even chaos begins to work in your favor. That's not fantasy. This is science, it's philosophy. It's the law of the universe that few understand. Most are stuck in a cycle of reaction, but you're about to cross the threshold, a point of no return, where fear disappears, doubt falls silent, and the world begins to respond to your command. Since the dawn of civilization, human beings have sought ways to overcome the chaos that dwells within and without them. The philosophers of ancient Greece, the monks of the Himalayas, the samurai of feudal Japan, Renaissance thinkers, and the leaders of the modern world, all at some point face the same question. How do you remain whole when everything around you seems to want to tear you apart? And the answer, which has always been available to anyone with eyes to see, is this. True power lies not in controlling the external world, but in conquering the internal world. Earl Nightingale, one of the greatest mentality masters of the 20th century, understood this better than anyone. He said, "You become what you think about most of the time. Stop and think. What thoughts dominate your days? What do you focus on when you're alone, when no one is watching, when the lights go out? Because there, in that silent and subtle place, is where your reality begins to be shaped. Not by chance, not by circumstances, but by the lens through which you see the world." Neuroscience confirms what the ancient sages already knew without laboratories. Your brain is constantly changing. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you feed, is strengthening specific neural circuits, as if sculpting an invisible sculpture inside you. The difference between an armored mind and a vulnerable one lies in the consistency of what you choose to reinforce. Reacting impulsively, feeling offended easily, carrying grievances around like trophies of pain. All this is a habit. And like any habit, it can be replaced by a new one. The average human being lives at the mercy of chance. They live hoping that the world will treat them fairly, that people will recognize their value, that opportunities will fall from the sky. But the wise, the truly wise, have understood that this is a trap. The Roman Stoic Marcus Aurelius, emperor of one of the greatest empires in history, wrote in his personal diary, Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And here's the key. It's not about ignoring the world, but understanding that the only way to truly change it is by mastering yourself first. You may be asking yourself, but how do I do this in practice? How can I be unshakable when I'm surrounded by toxic people, constant challenges, demands, pressures, and fears that won't let me sleep? The answer begins with one word: awareness. Everything changes the moment you realize that you are not obliged to react. You don't have to answer offense with offense. You are not obliged to carry the burden of the past. You are not obliged to accept any limiting story as absolute truth. You can today, right now, begin to consciously shape your identity. Take on the role of architect of your mind. Build your thoughts like a fortress. Start your day with affirmations that feed your courage. Feed your brain with high knowledge, with words that edify you, with images that inspire you. Cut out the noise, reduce the chaos, get closer to inner silence, and above all, cultivate discipline. Discipline is the bridge between intention and result. Everyone has intentions, few have results. Why is that? Because most give up as soon as they encounter resistance. But what you need to understand and internalize with all your soul is that the pain of discipline will always be less than the pain of regret. And furthermore, discipline is not about rigidity. It's about freedom. Freedom to be who you chose to be, and not what the world tried to push on you. Start with small habits. Waking up early isn't just about time. It's about internal leadership. Looking after your body isn't just about appearance. It's about commitment to life. Meditating isn't just about calm. It's about mastery of the mind. And working on your goals every day, even without motivation, is a silent reminder to the universe that you are ready. Ready to be rewarded. Ready to become unbeatable. Ready to transcend. You'll notice as you progress on this journey that people will start to treat you differently, not because you're trying to prove something, but because your vibration has changed. The human being is an antenna. You emit what you feel, and what you feel comes from what you believe. Change your beliefs, and the world changes with you. This isn't cheap self-help. It's emotional quantum physics. It's human behavior. It's the law of invisible reciprocity. An armored mind is one that has learned to observe itself. That doesn't despair when the plan fails. That is not shaken when praise turns into criticism. It understands that everything, absolutely everything, can be used to your advantage if you are willing to extract the gold from what looks like ruin. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before he made the light bulb work. When asked how he felt in the face of so many failures, he replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just discovered 1,000 ways that don't work." That's the unshakable mind. That's the mind that creates history. The weak mind seeks comfort. The strong mind seeks growth. And here's the paradox. The more you run away from pain, the more it chases you. The more you face pain with courage, the more it dissolves. As Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live for can endure almost any how. Find your why. It will be your shield on dark days. It will be your sword in the days of struggle. You are here now, listening to this, because inside you there is a flame. Perhaps it has been ignored for years. Perhaps it has been smothered by the voices of others, by disappointments, by defeats, but it's still there. And what you need to understand, deeply, viscerally, is that this flame is everything. It is the spark of what you were born to be. And if you decide today that no one else will have the power to extinguish it, then the game changes. Forever. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait to be 100% ready. Don't wait for the world to stop being unfair. Start now, with what you have, the way you are. Because the secret isn't in having, it's in being. And what you are, you attract. As Earl Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's not getting there, it's moving in the right direction, with purpose, with presence, with power. Nothing and no one else will have the power to affect you. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. And when you change on the inside, the whole world changes on the outside. You don't have to wait for anything else. Everything you thought was missing is already there, sleeping inside you, waiting to be awakened, not by a magical event, but by a raw, unvarnished decision. A decision you make in silence, inwardly, without applause, without witnesses, but which changes everything. Because when you decide that no one else will steal your peace, no one else will. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. The world may continue to be noisy, people may continue to fail, problems may continue to rise, but something inside you no longer reacts in the same way. You see everything, but you don't get contaminated. You hear everything, but you don't absorb it. You feel everything, but you don't bend. You remain. And here's a point that most people don't understand. To be steadfast is not to be cold. To be steadfast is to feel everything intensely, but to choose what to do with it. You feel the pain, but it doesn't define you. You feel anger, but it doesn't dominate you. You feel the fear, but you still act. That's courage. That's emotional mastery. And emotional mastery doesn't come by chance. It comes from training. Every day, like sharpening a blade. Because life won't spare you just because you want peace. Life will continue to test your mettle, and each test is an opportunity to consolidate yourself as what you were born to be, a presence that is impossible to ignore. The Stoics spoke of ataraxia, the imperturbable state of mind, not because there were no challenges, but because there was no longer any identification with the drama. Epictet was a slave. Seneca lost everything. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plagues, wars, and betrayals. And yet, they wrote about inner peace, about mastery of the mind, about freedom that doesn't depend on anything external. Because they discovered what neuroscience is beginning to prove today, that the trained mind is more powerful than any circumstance, that the regulated nervous system is more valuable than any material wealth, that the real empire is what you build inside. But what about when everything seems to go wrong, when things fall apart, when you feel alone, exhausted, without direction? That's when choice becomes sacred, because the difference between those who give up and those who win is in that very moment. The weak surrender their souls to despair. The strong collect chaos as raw material. You can take frustration and turn it into focus. You can take loneliness and turn it into clarity. You can take fear and turn it into momentum. And there is no one, absolutely no one, who can stop you from doing this except yourself. Most people wait for the external to improve so that the internal can finally find peace. But the opposite is true. You cultivate peace within, and the external begins to reorganize itself. Because when you change the frequency, you change the game. People start to move away, and you thank them. Others start to come closer, and you recognize them. Opportunities that once seemed unattainable begin to appear. Not by magic, but because you now have the structure to receive them. Life doesn't deny anyone abundance. It just tests whether you're ready for it. And how do you prepare? By taking care of what you feed it, what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, but above all, what you repeat to yourself. Because that's what's programming your perception. And your perception is the filter through which your entire reality is constructed. Change the filter, change the world. That's not metaphorical. This is neurophysiology. The reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters stimuli, is guided by your focus. And your focus is guided by your beliefs. So, yes, changing what you believe changes what you see. And changing what you see changes everything. So immediately abandon any belief that diminishes you. Throw away the idea that you're a failure. Forget the story that you're not enough. These ideas aren't yours. They've been implanted by society, by your family, by traumas, by moments. But now you're awake, and those who are awake no longer accept living on automatic. Those who wake up begin to rewrite their own narrative. They start walking with a different attitude, a different outlook, a different energy. And the world feels it, because the vibration of someone who has found themselves is unmistakable. You don't need to shout. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove anything. Your existence becomes the proof. Your consistency becomes the argument. Your tranquility in the midst of chaos becomes the most powerful weapon. And that, my friend, is what begins to attract everything you were running after before. Because the universe doesn't respond to despair. It responds to conviction. It responds to the firm calm of those who know that they already are. You already have it. It already lives, even before it manifests itself. And you can start now, with a simple act, a deep breath, a new thought, a micro victory, a habit, one step. Because that's how the unshakable mind is built. Not in one giant leap, but in the daily sum of conscious choices. And the more you choose to stand firm, the firmer you become. It's not about pretending that nothing gets to you. It's about having the structure not to crumble. It's about having roots. It's about having vision. It's about having purpose. And purpose doesn't have to be grandiose in the eyes of the world. It just needs to make sense to your soul. When you find that purpose, every morning becomes a sacred new beginning. Every difficulty becomes a stepping stone. Every criticism becomes fuel. And time, previously wasted on distractions and drama, is now used as an instrument of transformation. Because now you know who you are. Now you know where you're going. And no one, absolutely no one, can stop someone who knows where they're going. And if you try to stop, that's fine. Because you don't fight against it. You transcend. You don't fight back, you redirect. You don't take revenge, you evolve. Because your focus isn't on what the other person does. It's on what you build. And that puts you on another level of existence. A level where there is no more competition, comparison, or neediness. There is only path. There is only flow. There is only truth. And when you live in truth, the world conspires. The mind lights up. The answers come. The body aligns. Opportunities appear. The right people appear. And not because you changed the world, but because you've changed the only world you've always had control over, your inner world. And that world, when well cultivated, becomes unattainable, unshakable, unstoppable. Do you want to know how to make sure that no one and nothing ever affects you? Stop giving power to what's outside. It's as simple as that. Director, raw, no metaphors. The truth is that everything that affects you only affects you because you've allowed it to. Because somehow you still carry an expectation. An expectation is the leash of the weak mind. The expectation that the other person will treat you the way you treated them, that life will be fair, that recognition will come at the right time, that the love you give will come back in equal measure. But it won't, and it doesn't have to. Because when you understand that everything you give is an expression of who you are, and not a bargaining chip, you free yourself. You act with excellence because you are excellence. You offer respect because you are respect. You give love because you are love. And when the other person fails, you don't collapse. You observe and move on without resentment, no poison, no need for revenge. Because the other person was never the problem. You were always the field that reacts or the field that overflows. And the more you expand your self-awareness, the more you realize that everything that throws you off track is only revealing where you are not yet free. People don't irritate you. They reveal your accumulated irritation. Failures don't frustrate you. They expose your illusion of control. Criticism doesn't hurt you. It exposes your need for approval. And when you start to look at this without judgment, without drama, without victimhood, freedom is born. The brutal, radical freedom of those who no longer depend on anything or anyone to be well. The freedom of those who create their own frequency. The freedom of someone who has understood that external chaos can never dominate a well-built internal world. You can be that person, not tomorrow, now. Because the decision that changes your life isn't announced with bells, it doesn't come with guarantees or a red carpet. It happens in silence. At the moment when you, for the 1000th time, are tempted to react, but choose to respond. The moment you feel the urge to blame, but decide to take responsibility. The moment you could hide, but you decide to show up. Even if you're afraid, even if you're imperfect, even if you're uncertain, that's when you win. And when you win on the inside, it doesn't matter what happens on the outside. The relationship may end, a job can fall through, money may run out, but you keep going, whole, with presence, with faith, with vision. Because those who are internally strong don't fear the end of anything. They know that every end carries with it the birth of something greater. And that's not cheap optimism. This is deep mental programming. This is philosophy applied on the battlefield of real life. This is what great leaders, from Mandela to Churchill, from Buddha to Jobs, used to keep from collapsing when everything said it was time to give up. The unshakable mind is not a perfect mind. It's a trained mind. Trained not to give stage to the wounded ego. Trained not to seek validation. Trained to do what needs to be done, even when no one is watching. Trained to be faithful to the long term, while the whole world is distracted by immediate gratification. Because here's the truth. The strong do what's right, even when it's hard. The weak do what's easy, even when they know it's wrong. And if you really want to be unshakable, you need to kill the addiction to feeling like a victim inside you. You need to give up the need to be understood. You need to accept that not everyone will applaud your progress, that some will shy away, that others will try to pull you back into the hole where they still live. But you don't go back. You say thank you. You honor the journey, but you keep going, because something bigger is calling you. And that call isn't loud. It's subtle, internal, insistent. It comes in the form of restlessness, discomfort, insomnia. It comes like a voice whispering, "You were born for more." And when you start listening to that voice, everything changes. What used to destroy you now builds you up. What once confused you now teaches you. What once held you back now drives you forward. Because you are aligned with your mission, with your purpose, with your power. And here's a truth that will hit you hard. There is no peace without power. A weak mind will never find true peace. It will always depend on the absence of problems to feel good. But a powerful mind finds peace even in the midst of war, because it doesn't need the world to stop. It just needs to remain whole. And remaining whole is the most revolutionary act there is, because the world is designed to break you, to mold you into something smaller, to convince you that you can't, don't deserve it, don't know. But you can. You deserve it. You know it. And all this is already in you. It just needs to be activated. And you activate it with habits, with rituals, with conscious decisions repeated until they become identity. You are not what you do from time to time. You are what you do every day. And if every day you train your mind to choose what strengthens you, it becomes armored, immune, unreachable. That's what makes you unshakable. It's not a shield that protects you from the world. It's an inner core so strong that the world no longer hits you in the same way. You still feel, you still live, you still get emotional. But now, with discernment, with presence, with power, you no longer drown in your emotions. You observe them, you navigate them, you use each one as fuel. And the more you do this, the more the universe responds to you, with synchronicities, with clarity, with expansion. Because the universe doesn't conspire out of pity, it conspires for alignment. And if you're ready to align, if you're ready to stop running away, stop sabotaging yourself, stop diminishing yourself, then nothing, absolutely nothing will stop you. Not criticism, not failure, not loss, not fear. Because now you understand. What affects you only affects you because you have moved away from your essence. And every time you go back to it, you go home. Do you want to be unshakable? Then you need to make peace with discomfort. Not just tolerate it, welcome it, turn it into an ally. Because discomfort is not an enemy, it's the gateway, the secret door between who you are and who you were born to be. All growth is preceded by chaos. Every evolution is uncomfortable. The cocoon doesn't break without effort. And as poetic as that sounds, it's biological. Neuroscientifically proven. The brain only learns under tension. When it is challenged, stretched, put to the test. When the comfort zone is broken, the brain activates new areas, new synapses, new pathways. And each new connection is a brick in the construction of your new identity. That's exactly why running away from discomfort is condemning yourself to mediocrity. You need to put yourself to the test every day. You need to get up before the world wakes up. Not because someone is forcing you, but because you are training yourself to win when no one is looking. You need to study when you're tired, train when you don't feel like it, keep going when everything says no. Because it's in those moments that the old me tries to pull you back. And it's also in those moments that you decide to kill it. Not with violence, but with constancy. Do you want to know how to create this mind of steel? You do it by repeating what you know is right until it becomes natural. You don't wait to be inspired. You act despite the lack of inspiration. Because those who live by inspiration live by oscillating, but those who live by purpose live by growing. And purpose, when it's real, guides you like a beacon. It gets you out of bed. It makes you say no to empty invitations. It makes you endure rejection without breaking. It pushes you deeper into yourself until there is no longer any version of you that still needs the approval of others to exist. You start to walk more in silence. You start talking less. You start to observe more. Because you understand that the energy you save on noise turns into strength for what really matters. And what matters in the end is not impressing anyone. It's building something that can't be taken away. Something that no one can steal. Not a boss, not an ex, not the system, not crises. You're building a power that comes from within. And real power isn't about shouting. It's looking yourself in the eye, calmly, and realizing that you don't have to beat anyone. Only yourself, yesterday. And this is where the almost mystical beauty of repetition comes in. What you repeat, you become. It doesn't matter if it doesn't feel natural yet. Keep going. The warrior is not born ready. They are born from friction. From the fall, the internal struggle, from repeating simple movements until they become part of the body, part of the soul. Do you want discipline? Practice small commitments every day. Don't fail yourself. If you promise to get up at 6 a.m., do it. If you promise to read 10 pages, read them. If you promise to silence your mind for 10 minutes, do it. Because every time you fulfill an internal promise, you reinforce your identity as a winner. And every time you fail, you weaken the pact with your future. And do you know what affects people the most? The emptiness of not knowing where they're going. They react to everything because they have no direction. Any criticism becomes a sentence. Any rejection becomes a trauma. Any mistake becomes an existential crisis. But when you're clear about where you want to go, none of this gets you down. Everything becomes part of the path. You learn to see life as a demanding but fair master. Every pain brings a lesson. Every loss hides a liberation. Every delay carries a preparation. And this is only possible when you stop running from reality and start using it as a gym for the soul. An unshakable mind is not just made of strength. It's made up of surrender, of trust, presence. You learn to stop fighting everything. You learn to flow with what you can't control. And this surrender isn't passivity. It's wisdom. It's knowing when to act with intensity and when to retreat with strategy. It's accepting that absolute control is an illusion, and that true strength is flexible, adaptable, and resilient. Like water, which molds itself to any container but wears away even the hardest stone over time. You want to be water, silent, strong, impossible to contain. And the more you become this calm and powerful presence, the more the world begins to respect you. Because people feel it. They can't explain it, but they feel it. They feel it when they're in front of someone who's no longer shaken. They feel it when they're in front of someone who has faced their own darkness and come back stronger. They feel it when they're in front of someone who doesn't need to prove anything because they already are. And at that moment, you stop being just another person. You become a point of reference, a living example, a reminder that it's possible to be whole in a broken world. And that's the greatest gift you can give yourself and the world, your wholeness. Because a full person doesn't try to fill voids with distractions, addictions, or people. They overflow. They transform environments. They silence conflicts with their gaze. They inspire change just by the way they walk. And this doesn't come from a course, a book, or a guru. It comes from the decision to live with integrity. It comes from a daily commitment to one's own evolution. It comes from having the courage to look in the mirror and say, "No more excuses. Today, I am reborn." And you can be reborn, right here, now. Because being unshakable isn't about never falling. It's about never allowing a fall to define who you are. It's about getting up clearer, more aligned, more committed to your truth. It's about making your mind a temple, your routine, a prayer, your silence, a fortress, your body, an instrument, your life, a masterpiece. And it all starts with a decision. Decide now. I will no longer be dominated by anything that is outside of me. Say it to yourself. Repeat it. Record it. Breathe it in. Because every time you reaffirm this truth, something inside you realigns. And when you repeat it with faith, with focus, with frequency, repetition becomes identity. And identity builds reality. That's power, that's science, that's spirituality applied with your feet on the ground. You don't have to be invincible. You just need to be unshakable. And believe me, this is already in you. All you have to do is activate it and never turn it off again. You've come this far because something inside you refused to give up. Something inside you, even though it's hurt, tired, ignored, still wants to fight. It still believes, it still pulses. That something is the spark, the divine spark, the fragment of the absolute that dwells within you. And you can stifle that spark for years, with distractions, with fear, with procrastination. But it never dies. Never. It stays lit, waiting for the moment when you finally look at yourself honestly, firmly, lovingly, and say, enough. Enough of living on automatic. No more adapting to pain as if it were normal. Enough of believing that you have to suffer to deserve it. Enough of swallowing what hurts you. Stop pretending you don't feel it. Enough of running away from yourself. Enough. Life is happening now, and everything you need to change is also here, inside, now. This is the moment. This is the moment when you stop being a passenger in your own story and take the wheel with both hands, your heart racing and your soul awake. The naked truth is that the world will continue to test you. It will keep offering you reasons to victimize yourself, to distract yourself, to shrink away. But you'll look at it all and smile, not with irony, with understanding, with mastery, because now you know, now you've seen, now you've felt it, that everything that seems like adversity is training, that every provocation is a chance to improve, that every challenge is a call to expand. And you're no longer here to survive, you're here to transcend. And it doesn't matter how many times you've failed. It doesn't matter if you've lost your way. At any moment, including now, you can come back, you can reconnect, you can rebuild. Because the past doesn't define, it only teaches. It was the battlefield where your essence resisted, survived, and now flourishes. And if you've reached this point, it's because something has blossomed, something has broken free. You will no longer be the same. You can't be. Because anyone who has heard this truth can no longer live a lie. You'll leave here with new eyes. You'll realize that the same situations no longer have the same effect on you, that the same people no longer touch you in the same way, that you are now a presence, you are axis, you are essence, and you don't need an audience to know that. Just walk in silence, just act with congruence. You just have to wake up every day with the decision already made. Today, no one has any power over me. Not my past, not my sabotaging thoughts, not the chaos outside. I am the owner of my energy. I am the guardian of my mind. I am the architect of my reality. And that's not an empty statement. It's a command, a code, a spell of liberation, because words shape worlds, and what you say to yourself every day in the mirror of your consciousness becomes flesh. It becomes habit. It becomes destiny. So speak with greatness, think with authority, walk uprightly, because the universe listens, the world responds, life obeys those who know what they want. You didn't come here just to pay bills and please others. You came to leave a legacy, and that legacy begins with your personal transformation. An unshakable mind changes one life. A transformed life changes 1,000. You become an example. You become a reference. You become a beacon, and that is success. Real success. The kind of success that isn't measured in numbers, but in impact, in presence, in peace, in freedom. Earl Nightingale said, "Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal." So, become worthy of your own ideal, every day, with every gesture, with every choice, because the mind that chooses clearly, feels deeply, and acts with purpose is unstoppable, unattainable, unforgettable. And if life ever tries to make you forget that, if the world shouts too loudly, if doubt tries to return, if fear tries to take over, come back here. Reread these words. Listen to your own voice reminding you, nothing and no one has power over you, unless you surrender that power. And as of today, you're not giving it up. Ever again. Now stand up, breathe, straighten your spine, look straight ahead, feel it. You already are, you've already won.